also the author of the book, The Man Who Pushed America to War, The Extraordinary Life, Adventures, and Obsessions of Ahmed Chalabi. That does it for our show. I am Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez for another edition of Democracy Now!
The viewpoints expressed in this program are the opinions of the people expressing them, and not necessarily those of Fresh Air Incorporated, its staff, or its board of directors.
Hi, this is Al McFarland, host of The Conversation with Al McFarland. You're listening to 98.3 FM, KFAI, Minneapolis. I'm Al McFarland. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarland. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Today is a beautiful day. It's warmed up from the deep freeze we had a couple of days ago. I guess more will come, but it's cool to have the break. I hope you're having a good time enjoying it wherever you are. I got a call this morning from one of the Inside News delivery drivers who said he was, as he was delivering papers in Brooklyn Center, walked in to the middle of an ICE raid and kind of called unsettled and concerned and, just witnessing a number of ICE agents accompanied by one, I think, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, local officer, but going into a shop and taking someone out handcuffed and so concerning. So I want to talk about that later today in this program. I've invited Congressperson Ilhan Omar, who represents the 5th District of Minnesota, broadly Minneapolis and suburbs in the U.S. Congress. And she'll talk about what's going on with ICE, with the Somali community in general. With her in particular, she's been the target of vitriolic attacks by President Donald Trump. We want to talk about that. Love to have your input, your thoughts, your feedback. I've sent a number of messenger requests out to a number of you with a link to the show. If you want to come into the show, be part of the conversation, we invite you to do that. And if you're watching on any of the channels, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know who you are and where you are. Shout us out, shout out your location, and challenge your concerns. Well, I want to begin today's program, though, with another leader in community and a person that I'm just quite proud of. Brian Tyner is Chief Brian Tyner, the soon-to-retire chief of the Minneapolis Fire Department. Chief, good afternoon. Welcome to the conversation. How you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations, number one, for your stellar career as a public servant, as a firefighter, but also so excited that you're not quitting. When you retire, you're stepping into more work. And,
yes,
and the more work you're stepping into is work that's equally important to the critical work you've been doing over the past so many years as a firefighter. You're going to be leading one of the legacy institutions for Minnesota's Black community, Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. And the community center in North Minneapolis, I think, is coming up on its 85th anniversary or something like that. What's the coming up? It's been around a long time.
101. We'll be
101 years. So that's really legacy, really an institution. And you're connected with that Phyllis Wheatley, both from your infancy up through now, and it's really kind of cool that full circle, you're coming back to lead the organization. But first of all, Chief, talk about your career. Talk about you. If I didn't know you, introduce yourself. Who is Brian Tyner?
All right, my name is Brian Tyner. I, lifetime North Side resident. I grew up on the north side of Minneapolis. I was actually born in St. Paul, but we moved to the north side when I was probably about 1 year old. And grew up there ever since.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Well, it gives me ties to both sides of the river. It allows me to
Yeah.
bring people together. You know.
Yeah.
So, no, grew up on the north side. Went to public school through about the 4th grade, and then I went to private school the rest of the way. I actually went to school with your daughters, and so that's how I got to know you early on in life. And so I thank you for being a mentor for me in my earlier years. Yeah, I did a lot of things growing up. I didn't really grow up thinking I wanted to be in the fire service. But probably around the time when I was about 23, 24, I ran into a couple of firefighters at another job I had, and they told me about this opportunity, and it's really interested in me. And so it was something that I thought I might like to do. I was in between the time when they take applications. They only take applications about every 2 years.
Mhm.
And so I spent the year kind of preparing myself for the opportunity. I applied, I took all the tests and everything, and it was still another 2 years before I finally was able to crack the code and get hired by the Minneapolis Fire Department. And I've never looked back. I've held every rank.
So what year was that? What year did you start at the fire department?
1995. 1995.
And if I recall correctly, that's coming after some years of contesting policies and practices in the fire department. I think maybe by 95, things had kind of turned around a little bit. But before that, that had been a battleground for civil rights, because the historically fire department really wasn't looking at Black people.
No,
to
they
be firefighters, nor certainly to lead the department. So tell me about the history of the fire department as you've come to learn about it, and when did things begin to change? You know, it was the subject of I think maybe a court order at one point in time that opened the door. Ron Edwards was the one who, among others, led the charge to challenge the Minneapolis city and the fire department to open up to give opportunity for jobs and leadership to Black firefighters.
Yeah, so actually the Minneapolis Fire Department had Black firefighters a few way back in the early 19th century. And those Black firefighters, they weren't allowed to sleep in the same beds as white firefighters or work alongside white firefighters. So they ended up putting them in their own station on Hiawatha, which is a historical building today. By 1940, around the World War, though, Minneapolis Fire Department fired its last Black employee because his shirt wasn't blue enough. And his shirt wasn't blue enough because they'd all been requisitioned for the war. And from then until 1970.
So hold up. So the reason they gave for firing him was his blue shirt, right?
Yeah.
His uniform that he got from them was not blue enough.
Was not blue enough.
That's akin to telling somebody you can't vote until you guess how many jelly beans are in this jar, right?
Yes.
You can't guess it. You're not going to win.
You can't win.
No.
And even if you got it right, you have no way to know if you got it right.
That's right.
So from the 1940s until the Carter versus Gallagher decision in 1972, there weren't any minority firefighters on the Minneapolis Fire Department. And as you mentioned, that fight was led by Ron Edwards and Spike Moss and Matthew. His last name just
Matthew Little. Matt Little.
Little, thank you, Matthew Little. Yes,
president of the NAACP.
Yes. And in 1972, a consent decree was filed, which required the Minneapolis Fire Department to hire minority firefighters and to change their hiring practices. And actually, we're getting ready to honor Ron Edwards on Friday here. We're going to put a plaque in his honor on the newest fire station, Fire Station 1. So I would invite you and the community to come to that. But
where is Fire Station 1?
Fire Station 1 is located here in downtown. It is on, let me get the exact address for you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Anyway, I'll come back to that. I'll get it for you.
Yeah, come back to it. Yeah.
But at any rate, until that time, there were no minority firefighters. And then they hired a group in 1972. And when I came on in 1995, all of those guys were still here.
Okay.
And, just being a young rookie coming on, I just knew they were, my elder black firefighters and brothers. I didn't know that they were the originals. And, started telling stories and stuff. And it wasn't until much later in my career that I realized that, hey, I'm working with, the original black firefighters in 1972.
Talk about some of them. I mean, those are good stories. I know. Now, Ricky Campbell was in before you, right?
Ricky Campbell was in before me. Ricky Campbell was actually my training captain. So he was the one that got me first off from the first day and was able to mentor me all the way through. And I still talk to him today.
And Ricky was he fire chief or assistant chief?
He was the deputy chief.
Deputy chief, that's right. Yeah. So
yeah, he was the first black deputy chief of the Minneapolis.
Okay. And then you became the first black chief, correct?
I was the second, actually. Alex Jackson.
Alex Jackson, okay.
I
remember Alex.
And then I was the second.
Okay. So talk about some of those, the original ones that you met. What kind of stories that they tell you about being a firefighter? And I'm listening to this and I'm relating it to it because I'm a veteran, right? And so I know the feeling of being young and reporting to duty somewhere, and you try to find the people that can give you the inside track or the scoop, the lowdown, the ins and the outs, so that you do your job effectively, do work that's meritorious, right? And that you avoid the traps that are easily made just by either lack of information or lack of training or lack of attention, or sometimes people trick you and deceive you in order to keep you out of contention for the opportunities that are out there. So talk about some of the older people that you ran across and kinds of things they gave you in terms of mentoring.
Well, a lot of it was that mentorship, that do's and don'ts. They really didn't, most of the time they didn't open up and talk about their struggles early on. A lot of times they just kind of mentored us moving forward, like letting us know, hey, when you come in, do this, make sure you're here on time, make sure that you're doing your work. This is the proper way to do this chore. This is the proper way to do this duty, things to look for in a fire and things like that. And so it wasn't until much later in my career that I started to, hear some of the stories of some of the struggles and things they had to endure. The other thing is Ricky was actually one of the first black fire captains. And when I came on in 1995, they had just settled that suit, like I want to say the year or two before. And so he was very new as a black fire captain. He and it was 5 of them that had just started then. So not to go back and forth, but a lot of it was just, taking us under their wing and showing us the ropes and showing us where to go forward. I think in many ways, they didn't want to kind of burden us or traumatize us with some of the stories of the things that they went through when they first got there. And so it was much later in my career when I started to hear those stories, although I kind of had a sense of that coming in.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some of the stories. What do you remember? What stands out in your mind as when you look back and say, how these guys make it, when you hear, what they have to go through? Any particular stories jump in your mind?
Not really. Just a lot of like hazing type things. The N-word being thrown around every now and then, not being included in a lot of the activities. The fire department is kind of like a big family. My life depends on yours and your life depends on mine. And so them having to worry about if somebody was going to be there for them, if they got into trouble, which they always were, but it still was something you had to worry about. But a lot of it is just, the unwantedness, the uninclusiveness of
so
being
where do you think that stemmed from? Just, looking back, reflecting on it, what was the reason the old school, white guys didn't want anybody black in particular, but I'm sure that applied to anybody person of color.
Yeah, I think it was racist. I mean,
we ran a story recently in Inside News. I'm sure you saw it, of the first all Native crew.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought that was so impressive to see these brothers, and standing up for who they are, where they are, serving their community and the entire community without distinction. Without
absolutely
with a complete devotion to professionalism. Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer your question, it was racism. There was really no other reason. I mean, black firefighters and Native firefighters and Asian firefighters and everybody else is able to do everything that a white firefighter can do. So, it was really about racism. And then in the 80s, we were able to, bring on female firefighters, and then they kind of had to go through the same thing all over again. But, it was really just about exclusion and racism and sexism and exclusion and thinking that this job was really just created for them.
For white men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so the courts and protests from the community challenged that and prevailed. And what's it look like now? How ethnically and gender diverse is the Minneapolis Fire Department? When you leave, you're leaving in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
What are you going to be handing over to your people who came after you?
Yeah, well, definitely the department is a lot more diverse than when I came. I think actually, especially as far as female firefighters, our diversity probably peaked in the early to late 2000s, and then they started giving a lot more credence to military points, and then that dropped off. But now we're on the rise again. So, but I've definitely been able to increase the diversity of this department in my 5 years as chief, and I'm very proud of that. So I think I'm leaving the department in a better place than when I found it. Our staffing is up, our diversity is up. We have a lot more services for things that weren't even thought about in the past, like cancer prevention and mental health, and even injury prevention and injury treatment and things like that, to try to get firefighters back on the job and back on the job faster, no matter what it is they're suffering from. So I think I'm leaving us in a better place. And then I've also been able to add 15 additional firefighters, with hopefully more to come. So
how large is the fire department?
Right now we're 434 members.
And what does the city ordinance allow in terms of your full complement when you're fully staffed? What would it be?
434. So
you're right there. You're right at it.
Yeah, and we got a long line of people waiting to come.
Okay, that's good. What kind of budget does your organization operate with every year? You're running really a big company. It's the city.
It is. Yeah, fire department's budget is about $90 million.
Okay.
But most of that, the lion's share of that, about 85% of that, all goes to salaries.
Sure.
A lot of the other stuff is already earmarked for different expenses and stuff. And so there's very little money that we actually have the decision to, or that we have decision-making power with.
Which people. It's
a big budget.
The people, right? And then the maintenance of the facilities. Are there any new facilities or new activities in the department that you want to point out? New equipment, new strategies. What's new?
I think the newest thing that I want to point out, and it's not extremely new now, but fairly new for the fire department, is our MFD EMS Pathways Academy. That stands for the Minneapolis Fire Department Emergency Medical Services Pathways Academy. It's an internship program where we take students who all they need is a high school diploma. They don't have to have any experience or anything. We put them through school to get their emergency medical technician certification. And from there, we provide pathways for them to get different jobs in the EMS field, including firefighter, but also they can go and become paramedics. They can be emergency medical technicians, or they can be EMT dispatchers. And we've been able to put a lot of young people into jobs and increase our diversity a lot through that program.
What does a firefighter make these days? What's the range of earning for somebody interested in becoming a firefighter? And over the course of a career, what does a person come out earning?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's pretty good. We start out firefighters at about, I want to say $77,000 in their first day as a firefighter. They're paid a little bit less while they're going through training for the 4 months that they're going through training. But once they get promoted to firefighter, they start out at $77,000. And and that goes up to just about $100,000. And then each promoted rank goes above that. So, and you can start promoting after your 4th year as a firefighter. So it goes pretty fast.
Okay, well, that's great, man. That's good information. So, I think we want to make sure that our community knows that there's an environment and a policy and a practice at the fire department now that invites all of us to consider
Absolutely, everybody,
serving our neighborhood and our community and our city, and saving lives. How do you describe the mission of the fire department? I mean, it's obvious you fight fires, but from the internal side, what's the vision that's driving you? The vision of service and the what gives you the greatest satisfaction as a human being?
Yeah, I think it is that. I think it is the fact that we're able to save lives, the fact that we're able to serve our community. For me, the community that I grew up in, the fact that we're able to come to people on the worst day of their lives and hopefully, not all the time does it work out, but hopefully do something to make it better or to mitigate that problem that they're having. About 75% of our runs, our medical runs, we actually don't go fight as many fires as one would believe. But,
which is a good thing, man.
Yes. Yes. We also do fire prevention, which cuts down on the fires. But when your house is on fire, that could be one of the worst days of your life. If your loved one's trapped in a burning building, that's probably one of the worst days of your life. So to be able to come and rescue that person, to put out that fire, to save your house, to save somebody who's having a heart attack or a stroke, is a really great feeling. And when you're out on the streets, I don't see it as much now as a chief, but when you're out on the streets, it means you get to see the fruits of your labor in real time. As a fire chief, I embark on different initiatives and things, and I may not know if it worked for a year or more, but when you're out on the street and responding to those runs, you get to see it in real time. And every now and then, you get to deliver a baby. I've delivered.
Have you delivered a baby?
I've delivered 4 babies.
Man.
Yes.
Who'd have thought?
The mothers did all the work. I just catch them.
Yeah, but you were there.
Right? I was there.
Yeah. I'm Al McFarland. This is The Conversation with Al McFarland. I'm talking with Minneapolis Fire Chief Brian Tyner. Born and raised in Minnesota, born in St. Paul, but raised in North Minneapolis. I think a person who could say North Side for life. And
North Side for life.
About to leave his post after, 30 years?
30 years, almost 31.
31 years, and starting a second career, because he's still a young man, becoming the executive director of one of the legacy institutions of our community, that being the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center, which is celebrating, I think you said 101, 103?
101 we passed, so 102
years of service to North Minneapolis. So talk about growing up. Let me go back, Chief. What are your earliest memories as a person being alive? 2, 3, 4 years old. What do you remember first about being alive?
I just remember, feeling loved, feeling free to go outside and do whatever I wanted to do. I feel like we grew up in one of the best times to grow up. I feel like there was really a great sense of community back then. It didn't matter, and my range wasn't that far back then, but it didn't matter where you go. There was people who knew you, who cared about you, who weren't afraid to correct you if you were doing the wrong thing, who would invite you in, feed you, play with each other's kids and all of that, and it was just a great time to grow up. And so the main thing I do remember is the love and the sense of community that I felt like we had on the north.
Where did you grow up in North Minneapolis? What street did you grow up on?
I grew up right off the corner of 12th and Russell.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then were you there pretty much all of your grade school and high school?
I was there my whole childhood, all the way until I, got kicked out the nest.
Okay. So talk about your neighborhood, the neighborhood that you were in, 12th and Russell, but you obviously were, down at the Wheatley. And how did the Wheatley come into your life, and how did that neighborhood? I was doing a show a couple of weeks ago, and one of the people that called up said, Mr. McFarland, I want to say that I'm retiring from 25 years at Minnesota Department of Transportation, but I got my work ethic by carrying newspapers, Inside News,
I did that.
when I was a kid.
I did
And
that.
you did the same thing,
I
right?
did. I think I was about 11, 12 years old. That
He
was
was
my
about the
first
same,
job.
right?
I was in a program called I don't know. It was Major Tops. It was I forget. But anyways,
Yeah.
part of our deal was, we learn life skills and stuff in the morning and all of that stuff and have a little education. And then during the day, we would deliver Inside newspapers.
Yeah. Well, and this kid lived at 12th and I think Upton. There was a group of kids that worked down there, 4 or 5 boys, and did papers for me down there too. So you were in that group as well.
Yeah.
It's satisfying to hear that. And so how about the Wheatley though? What did you do at the Wheatley? And what did the Wheatley mean to you as a kid?
The Wheatley meant a lot to me as a kid. I didn't just go to one place. I went to all the places. So I went to the Wheatley. I went to the hospitality house. I went to Jerry Gamble's. I went to anywhere there was a basketball game or football game or some kind of sports related thing. I was probably going to be there. So for the Wheatley, for me, it started out as basketball, and we also played football there. And even when I joined the hospitality house's football team, our home field was Phyllis Wheatley over there at the park. And so for me, Phyllis Wheatley early on was sports and things like that. When I got older and I had kids, I sent my kids to the Mary T. Welcome daycare over there, and they all grew up in there. And so I got to know.
That's where my kids went. Celine was at Mary T. Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Celine wrote the bus together. You and Celine and Batala wrote the bus together, right?
Yeah, we all rode the bus together to Breck, for, man, it seemed like a lot of years, I think they even started younger than I did. So I think we probably all started about the same time.
Yeah.
We just ran in Batala the other day. But yeah, for me, it was a great place to be. And then when I became a teenager, I was part of the Elks drum corps, and they had the Phyllis Wheatley Festival there, with all the bands and the parade and the drum contest. And so I was in the parade and, in the contest. I was with the Elks. The Elks, we never won the contest. We lost to the Children of Light and some of the other bands that were from out of town. But I still had a great time doing it, and it had a great influence on my life. And so, again, it was a safe place to be, a place of community, a place where you could go and have fun and not have to worry about something happening to you.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you see as your mission now as you move into leadership with Phyllis Wheatley? What is your expectation of yourself and of the community? How critical is a resource like Phyllis Wheatley to our families today? And how critical is it to, our sense of being a safe and whole and healing community in North Minneapolis? What do you think?
I think it's extremely critical in the sense that it provides, like it did in the past, a safe place for people to come, a safe place for people to get the services that they need. One thing about the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center is it hasn't been doing the same thing for 101 years. It has evolved and changed over the years to provide the community with whatever it was it needed. And so I think it's very important that we remain flexible enough to be able to meet the community's needs. But I also believe that we don't need to do everything by ourselves, right? That we can partner with other organizations around the North Side and elsewhere to provide those services so that we're not competing with each other to do the same things.
I'm Al McFarland. This is The Conversation with Al McFarland. I'm talking with Minneapolis Fire Chief Brian Tyner, hanging up his, I was in gloves, but hanging up his uniform.
My badge.
His chief's, his badge, right? In a few days, retiring after 30 years of service in the Minneapolis Fire Department, which obviously ending with his illustrious career as the fire chief. And but trading that job in for a new job at Phyllis Wheatley Community Center in North Minneapolis. And as I said, it's a legacy institution, one of the building blocks of community. Phyllis Wheatley was important, Brian, because we talked a little bit about segregation and discrimination and racism in Minnesota. And so Minnesota, just like everywhere else, they had fairly hard-driven lines separating people of color, where most of the Black community started back down in the projects, called it the bricks.
I remember the bricks. Yes,
or either Sumner Olson. Those two. Sumner Olson was called the bricks, and also Glenwood. Public housing, mostly Black, and back in the days when people like Duke Ellington or any of the Marian Anderson, the Stars traveled to do music in Minnesota to play, they couldn't stay in hotels downtown.
right.
So people actually stayed at the Phyllis Wheatley House. They had rooming quarters at the old address at, I think it was 919 Fremont or Emerson at the time. I can't remember the exact address.
Yeah, it actually
was a big
started
house.
out as a settlement house
Settlement house.
for a group of women who had been accepted into the University of Minnesota who weren't allowed to stay at the dorms there. And so Phyllis Wheatley started out as a settlement house for them to have a place to stay while they pursued their studies. And like you said, it grew into one of those places in the Green Book where people like Duke Ellington and other famous people could come stay, or just really anybody who was, of color looking to settle in Minneapolis.
One of the things that you mentioned was the Mary T. Welcome preschool, it was called, or nursing school, nursery home. What was the full name
Child
of it?
Development Center.
What is it called again?
Mary T. Welcome Child Development Center.
Child Development Center, that's it. And also Camp Parsons. Talk about those two programs.
Yeah, so the Mary T. Welcome Child Development Center is, I hate to say daycare because daycare makes it sound like they're just watching your kids. The Child Development Center, actually, they work with your kids to get them ready for kindergarten. But it services children from infants all the way up to 5 years old, so pre-kindergarten. And while your parents are at work, they, give them a safe place to be, but we also develop their skills to prepare them to be ready to enter the school system and be ready for kindergarten. A lot of our kids aren't ready for kindergarten when they get there. And so one thing that Mary T. Welcome does is try to make sure that they have the necessary skills to be successful when they get to school. Camp Catherine Parsons is a camp that is one of the few Black-owned camps in the entire country, and it's owned by the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. It's on land in Carver County that was given to Phyllis Wheatley back in the, I'm gonna miss the year. I want to say 50s, 60s by Catherine Parsons, who was a member of the board at the time. The camp was very well attended for many years, but then in the 80s, Phyllis Wheatley got into an area where they weren't really able to maintain the camp the way that it should be. But to the credit of the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center, they never sold off the camp or sold off the land. They held on to it as an asset. And now, in the present day, we are working on to restore the camp. And so we've got permits in place and we've got a camp design all designed out, and we're working on rebuilding that camp. And so that's the capital campaign that Phyllis Wheatley has been working on for a couple of years, that I'll end up taking over here shortly to try to raise enough funds to restore the camp and provide a place for our youth to be able to experience nature. It's on a small lake called Oak Lake. There's no public entrance to the lake, and so it's nice and secluded. It's pretty much just the camp and the neighbors that surround the lake. And so it's really a beautiful place. It's over 100 acres.
Awesome.
So plenty of camp land and plenty of nature. I don't think city children realize that when you're in a city and you look in the sky, you see some of the brightest stars, but you're not really seeing the stars. And when you get out to a place like Camp Parsons, you can really look up and really see, all the stars. It's a whole different experience.
The atmosphere is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get out to the camp when you were a kid? What's your own personal story with the outdoors? Were you were active in sports and on leagues and teams in the neighborhood?
Yep.
Did you get out of the neighborhood at all growing
I
up?
did get out the neighborhood. I've always been kind of an avid outdoorsman, not hunting, but fishing, certainly. Love to fish. I still love to fish today. And so I've always been able to get out. I never got to attend Camp Parsons, though.
Mhm.
I kind of regret that. But I did attend some other camps, around, and was able to kind of get the camping experience. My uncle, Maurice Hickman, you know him. He had an RV at one time and was part of a camping club. And so he would load all of us kids up in the RV and take us out camping different places every weekend. And we we have the opportunity to get out that way.
That's great. That's great. What other programs will Phyllis Wheatley be developing and presenting? I know you're doing stuff in digital access and literacy, but talk about that and what else are you doing at Phyllis Wheatley? And if you want to, Chief, talk about how people can support your capital campaign. If they want to
Absolutely.
bring money or volunteer, what can they do to support the Wheatley?
All right. Thank you for that. So we have literally programs for every age group. We talked about the Mary T. Welcome Child Development Center. We have building bridges through basketball for kids that are a little older than kindergarten up through teenagers. We have a esports team and an esports program for kids that like to do the video gaming and things like that. And we're looking to build it to a point where we can actually enter them into competitions and things like that. We have a Quality of Parenting Academy for adults, for people who have been separated from their families by the system for one reason or another, to prepare them and get them ready so that they can get their kids back and reunite their household. We have domestic abuse programs for people who have suffered from domestic abuse and need help in that area. We have Digital Tech Works, which is computer programming. We have a Man Code programming for boys who are looking to get into computer programming, and a Girls Who Code programming for girls who are looking to learn computer programming. And then we also have a Digital Tech Works programming for seniors who may not be as computer literate as the younger people. Younger people seem like they pick up a computer and just pick it out
Just like that, yeah.
For people my age and older, it's not as easy. And so we have a program that
we got to ask our grandkids how you do this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we have a program that teaches that to seniors, and it's like I think a 10, 11 week program. But if you attend at least 8 or 9 of the sessions, not only do we teach you the skills, but we send them home with their own laptop computer. So,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so a lot of different programs. I'm probably missing some, and I'm looking to maybe add some others, but I really would like to get some input from the community before we move any further to see what those needs really are. I don't just want to just throw stuff out there.
Sure. Well, let me pivot and bring back, just you as a North Side kid who grew up and now, elder in the community. Talk about your family, your mom, your dad, the people whose shoulders you stand on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your lineage and what's your connection to the fabric of our community in Minnesota?
All right. So my dad was Melvin Tyner, my mother, Carolyn Tyner. Everybody in the neighborhood called her Bit when we were younger. My mom, she was born in St. Paul. My dad was born here in Minnesota, but in a rural area, moved to Detroit as a child, grew up in Detroit, and then moved back here as an adult and met my mom and married her. Again, they started out in St. Paul. We moved to the North Side when I was very young. And then my dad also, he was a realtor at the time, found houses for my mom's 2 sisters and their husbands, which are the Hickmans and the Shockleys at the time. So Doug and Linda Shockley and Maurice and Shirley Hickman. And so it was nice because we were on Russell. For those of you who don't know anything about the North Side, the streets are in alphabetical order. So we were on Russell. My Aunt Linda and Uncle Doug were on Thomas, and my Aunt Shirley and Uncle Mo were on Upton, right? Yeah. And then they each had boys that were about my age. So my cousin Maurice Day. Everybody calls them Kip and Doug. And so we were all together all the time. And so, like I said, that sense of community was real, in that I had family there, but also all the other neighborhood kids felt like family to us, you know, and I still have great relationships with everybody that I grew up with today. And so,
I had Batman on a couple of weeks ago. David Island, they call him Batman, right? But all of you were in the same group, same area, the same neighborhood, same age group too. I think,
we were
right?
all the same age group. So Lori was my age. David, he was older than us, but
Andre Simone.
Yep, grew up right down the street from Andre Simone.
Yeah,
he's my wife's cousin. So now
okay,
by marriage with
okay,
with that family.
Mm-hmm. And
Yep.
so, you know, so tell me some stories. Tell me some neighborhood stories. What when you start telling the grandkids how it used to be, what you gonna tell them?
Yeah, I'm scared to tell the grandkids about how it used to be, because I don't want them doing the stuff we were doing. But you know, like I said, it was a lot freer, man. You know, we would go out and hang out. We had to be in by the time the street lights came on.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, we had, you know, pretty much freedom, you know, to move in or around. But you know, in the younger years, a lot of it was you know, again, about sports, going up to Willard Park and playing basketball, or going over to Lincoln Field and playing football or softball. Sometimes we play over in the park there right off of Thomas, running around up and down Plymouth Avenue, you know, thinking we was out here doing something, you know, chasing girls as we got older. But I don't know. It was just, I just remember it as a great time. All of us wanted to be, we all wanted to be athletes, but then we all wanted to be musicians too. So, you know, I tried to take up the drums and play the drums. I never got that good, as good as I needed.
Were you in one of the bands?
I was in a little teenage band, but we were horrible, man. But, you know, we play out in the garage. It's called the Quasar Band. But they probably never heard of us. But
who was in the band with you?
it was Josh Wilson, David Kirby, Steve. I think his name was Wilson. He was actually the talent in the band. He was the only one of us that was good, I think. But man, that was a long time ago.
I'm Al McFarland. This is The Conversation with Al McFarland. I'm talking with a neighbor and friend, Fire Chief, retiring Fire Chief, Brian Tyner. He's leaving the service of the city in a few days now, but stepping into a new role as the leader, executive director of the storied legacy institution, Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. So that's going to be, you know, great to see you transition over to that new role. Let's see. I was going to ask you, so, you know, and then back to, so what was your relationship with the Way? North Minneapolis and the Way kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Not the Way, but also places like Jerry Gamble's Boys Club. And what was the place up further north? That was Jerry Gamble's Hospitality House.
Yeah, Hospitality House. Yeah, Jerry Gamble was up.
Yeah,
on the 26th, 27th, something like that.
Yeah.
So I attended all of those. The Way, I actually didn't spend a lot of time at the Way. Like, I'd be in and out of there. I wish I'd have spent more time at the Way. Mostly my memories with the Way was playing against the Way, and football. I never played for the Way. But, you know, I'd run in there where they were doing the music thing and kind of watch them guys and try to pick up things and do stuff. And then, of course, I was always there for the summer games, you know, where we'd have the races and they'd have the prizes and the bikes and things like that. I never won any races, but I raced. But I also remember the Way being a safe place to be. I remember Spike Moss, you know, big giant dude with that yellow, you know, shirt with the black letters that said the Way, and he was like Black Superman to me back then, you know, like he was, you know, like Shaft, man, like he was, you know, the man that every man wanted to be, you know. And so I just remember, you know, looking at him with pride and you know, I just felt like nothing was going to happen to me. You know,
You
Spike
felt
Ball.
safe. You felt safe.
Yeah.
Mm,
So that's my memories with the way. Jerry Gamble's, go up there and play basketball. I tried to play football for him for a little bit. It wasn't really working out, so I went back to the hospitality house. Seemed like they could never have enough people to really field a full team. So, but we at Jerry Gamble's, I remember playing basketball, but I also remember you could learn to shoot at Jerry Gamble's. They had like a BB gun range in the basement, and you could learn to shoot BB guns down there. And if I recall, I think they also did archery down there too. So those are my fondest memories of Jerry Gamble's. Jerry Gamble's was always weird because they had the game tables and everything up top, and then the gym was like downstairs in this boat, and it was kind of built in a big circle.
How about hospitality house?
Hospitality house, I spent a lot of time at the hospitality house. I played every sport at the hospitality house. Played basketball, was on their traveling basketball team. At one time, I played football for them, baseball, softball, you name it. You know, sometimes we do a couple different sports in the same day. We just go from one thing to the next. There's a track meet. We just show up and run track, you know. I didn't even have track shoes or track shorts. We just show up and run it out, you know, whatever we had on. So,
oh, that's great. So I meant to ask you earlier too about some of the firefighter stories. You know, we didn't really go into it, but I'm still interested in knowing, you know, what kinds of experiences you learned from the OGs, the original Black firefighters. Any stories come up?
Like I said, a lot of hazing, a lot of you know, just trying to shut them out of different activities, you know, trying to make them do things that, you know, really wasn't required for you to do on the job. You know, hazing incidents like messing with their equipment, putting stuff in their beds, you know, hiding equipment from them, you know, just all kinds of, you know,
Petty stuff.
Petty stuff. Seems like kid stuff, but you know, just anything to make their life harder, you know. Feel welcome.
I have to thank you because I've got two family members that work for you now. My niece Kalimba, is a captain, I believe, and then her son, is a new talk about that multi-generational.
So you know, in Black families, we don't have a lot of multi-generational firefighters, so I'm always happy to see when that happens. Kalimba, captain, you know, I can remember when she came on, and now, you know, she's a captain, well respected, and now, you know, her son's on, and he just came on, I think, in the last class, so he's still pretty new. Giant of a man, you know.
Big guy. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's not having any issues. But you know, it's a good thing to see. We have a few families like that now, where we have a couple of families now that are in their second generation. I don't think we have any third generation Black families on the fire department now, but we certainly have several of the second generations. And something that was probably, you know, unthought of not too long ago, and now we're starting to see it because of the progress that we've been able to make.
So we're making progress. Well, that just reminds me, I want to have you take the time, Chief, to invite people to support Phyllis Wheatley and to support, you know, by either supporting the Capitol campaign, or if they can volunteer, or what can ordinary citizens do, what kind of listeners do. And you don't have to be Black to enjoy Phyllis Wheatley.
You do not have to be.
For the entire community, right? And
yes,
it's open and inclusive, and it always has been. Yeah,
absolutely, always has been and always will be. The easiest way to support is to go to phylliswheatley.org, PHYLLISWHEATLEY.org, and just hit the donate button and donate. I'm sure we'll be looking for, once we get a little further into the camp development, we'll be looking for volunteers to help out with that. But the easiest way is just really to donate at this time.
Okay, all right. Well, Chief, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me. We'll be watching you celebrating your transition. And you mentioned this Friday is an important event. Talk about that again.
This Friday is an important event. I did look up the address, but we will be at Fire Station 1 in downtown Minneapolis, celebrating Ron Edwards. We got a plaque made in his honor. We're going to be putting that on Fire Station 1, and that'll be at 1 o'clock. I'm going to give you the address here.
The address for it, okay. And while you're doing that, I want to remind our viewers that in a few minutes we'll be being joined by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. And we'll get an update.
I know everybody's thinking he's the fire chief. How does he not know the addresses of all the fire stations? Well, I did once upon a time, but this one is fairly newly built, so I haven't memorized it. But it is 299 Fifth Avenue South.
Okay, 299 Fifth Avenue South.
Right off of Third Avenue and Third Street and Fifth Avenue.
All right, cool. Well, listen, brother, thank you so much. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you.
Thank you.
Again, keep up the good work. Kudos for a stellar career serving the community as the fire chief and as a firefighter, and look forward to what you're going to continue to do, serving us in the space of leading Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. Let me have you say hello to State Representative, not State Representative, U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar. Ilhan, do you know Chief Tyner?
I don't know Chief Tyner. So good to see you. Congratulations
on you too.
Retirement.
And Representative Omar actually read a resolution for me on the House floor the other day.
You put him in the congressional record.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Well,
we're
Chief,
so proud of you, Chief.
Hang around as long as you can. Let me spend the rest of the hour here with Representative Omar.
I'll be ready.
Representative, this morning I said when I began the program that one of my delivery guys called me like at maybe 8 this morning in Brooklyn Center saying I just watched an ICE raid. And there were X number of unmarked cars going into a business in the Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park area. It might have been a store. He didn't tell me exactly what it was.
A bakery in Brooklyn Park.
The bakery. Tell me what happened there. Tell me about that. What went on there?
Yeah, that's not in my district, but I know a little bit about it. They went in and they arrested one of the cooks. We still don't have information or clarity on why he is detained.
Okay. So talk generally about where we are. I said in my opening remarks that President Trump has made vitriolic attacks against you personally and against now the Somali community. And I think by extension, all immigrants and by extension, all Black people, all Black Americans, I think are feeling the weight of this effort to return to some idyllic notion of what I call white supremacy and white privilege. What do you think? How do you describe this moment and what should people be doing and knowing?
Yeah, I mean, we know that on one hand, they say they want to go after the most dangerous criminals in our country, that they want to go after people who have no right in being in the United States, who are undocumented. But what they're essentially saying and what they're doing with their actions is that the people they don't want in this country are people who are brown and Black. The president himself says it, right? Like, why don't they send people to us from Norway, from Denmark, from Sweden? Those are white immigrants that he's asking for. We know that he's allowed the Afrikaners to come in from South Africa when he's halted all refugee programs from any African nations, and not allowing for any Black Africans to seek asylum. What they're doing in Minneapolis is really horrific. They are going to areas where they think they will find people to harass, to terrorize, and to inflict pain. They're going to restaurants that they know are either owned by immigrants or have seen people that they can ethnically profile as being either East African or Black, and they're going in, and sometimes just walking around, you see the videos. They don't have an actual purpose in being in that restaurant. We've seen reports of them going to mosques, doing that same thing where they go inside, they walk around. And we've seen some raids in which they have taken people. There are documented cases in which they have detained people who are citizen, people who were born here. There's a case of a Edina woman who's a U.S. citizen. They detained her, I believe, in downtown Minneapolis. They held her for 24 hours, supposedly to verify her citizenship and documentation. There was the incident of that young man who was on a lunch break in a restaurant in Cedar Riverside, which actually happens to be one of my son's favorite restaurant to go to. And, he was screaming, "I'm a citizen." He actually had his citizenship documentation. Again, this is not a country where we ask people to prove their citizenship, but people are even willing to do that. They're not resisting and saying, "I'm not going to give you any documents." They literally are like, "It's in my jacket. Let me get that information for you," or "It's in my car." And for that young man, they held him for a couple of hours. They took him 7 miles away. And when they released him without providing a ride for him or an excuse on why he wasn't able to be at work, they told him he should walk home. And so, and the result of it is not that there is a sweep in their ability to find undocumented people or criminals to arrest. The result has been communities that have been terrorized, businesses that are either suffering or shutting down. I'm getting phone calls from small business owners who are like, "I'm barely seeing a customer come in." The mall, Carmel Mall, which is a hub not just for Somalis, but for East Africans and a lot of other people, because they do have, affordable prices for goods. They're saying the foot traffic there is so low, it's lower than during the pandemic. And so it's just causing lots of havoc. And people who believe in law and order, people who want safety in our communities are seeing this as unlawful. And they're seeing this as creating unsafe environments in all of our communities.
So what should we do? We've got about 3 minutes left. What kinds of things are you encouraging people to do when they call your office in fear, in anger, in confusion as to how they maintain stability, civility, and the promise of being a U.S. citizen, whether they're born here or immigrant? What do you tell people? What should we be telling people right now?
Yeah, well, one thing I'm doing, and I know that the governor is also doing, is trying to get information on what this raid is supposed to be about, get clarity on the people that might have detained, have an actual understanding of their policies and procedures that they're trying to carry out. And then also asking them to have some collaboration in sharing information so that we know people are not just being disappeared from our communities. We know where they're being held. We can assure that they have adequate representation. We can alert their family members. We can start the process of trying to get them released. What I would tell the average person is that, one, they need to go to my website, get the documentation, get the document that tells them what their rights are and how they should be interacting with ICE. Two, if you have ICE agents show up to your workplace, to your home, to your place of worship, make sure that they have a warrant that is signed by a judge. Make sure that they show that to you before you grant them access. Warrants that are signed by an administrator does not give them permission for them to enter your home or your workplace. And then three, I would say it's sad to say, but carry as much documentation to prove that you have a right to be in this country, so that you do not get further harassed or get detained. And then lastly, I would say show up for your neighbors. It's been really beautiful and heartwarming, not just as a Somali, but as a representative of Minnesota's 5th District, to see my neighbors showing up for one another in what is a brutally cold, few weeks. I was just home on the weekend, which is I think our coldest weekend,
Mhm.
and I was really surprised
13 below, yeah.
Saturday morning and Sunday morning in Cedar
Mhm.
Riverside, there were so many people that were out there protecting one another, or even the incident in Chanhassen, where the people were stuck on top of that roof, and people were showing up with blankets and doing everything that we can. And then lastly, which is really important, because when this storm passes,
Yeah, 1 minute.
we are going to have accountability.
Mhm.
And that accountability would only take place if there is documentation of what ICE has been able to execute in our community. So if you have the capacity without endangering yourself, record, document, take photos, because we're going to need all of that information when the day comes for accountability.
Ilhan Omar, thank you so very much. Fire Chief Brian Tyner, thank you both for being here. I'm Al McFarland. We'll see you
Thanks,
next
Al.
time. Thank you. Take care.